It's Monday. It's morning.
It's macabre.
Welcome to Monday Morning Macabre. I'm giving myself a round of applause.
Oh, I thought you were doing the clap emoji in between each word.
Oh, yeah. Monday Morning Macabre. I don't have the money for Patreon, but my sister does. Shout out to you.
Yeah.
Made me laugh out loud. Welcome to Monday Morning Macabre, the podcast where we talk about creepy spookies and spooky creepies.
In that order.
In that order, we do not
ever divert from
we do not divert from the... It's a working scheme we figured out, and we don't divert from it. Since we had audio issues last time, I didn't get the chance to welcome Scones back from vacation.
Hey.
He's looking tan, looking toned, looking sconed.
Fully sconed.
Fully sconed out of his mind right now. They tied him back up here. We're hanging above lava as usual, per usual, as ad astra per usual.
You know, I always come back.
He's always back in the mix. And we're excited because summer's winding down.
It's the twilight of summer.
It's the twilight of summer. I'm Edward Cullen. He's other guy.
I'm other guy.
What's his name? Like Yoni Schmidl.
Kristen Stewart.
You're Kristen Stewart. I'm Edward Cullen. We're going to climb a tree together live. So
is that what happens in that movie?
I think that's like the climax of the movie is them sparkling up a tree. But anyway, that's besides the point. What we're trying to say is the fall is coming. So the spooky boys, the spooky energy is coming, and we're feeling it, and we're feeling spooky, and Halloween's almost here.
We're almost at our full power.
We're almost at full power. Spooktober's coming. October 31st is going to be...
Crap's already like out. Like you can buy Halloween candy. You can buy pumpkin flavored beer. You can get pumpkin flavored coffee.
Pumpkin spice is back. Jeep Wranglers made out of frozen yogurt for white girls. We got it all coming.
I love it all.
It's all
Give me
here,
all
baby.
of it.
And we're gonna embrace it because the 1 year anniversary is on All Hallows Eve.
Samhain.
So that's going to be an exciting October. Big update today as...
Give them the big one.
If everything goes as planned, the Patreon and the merch store should be live.
As you hear this, not as of taping.
Yeah, we're a little peek behind the curtain. We're taping this before. It's not live when you play it on your... We don't run to our phone.
Sorry, guys.
Yeah, we don't get like a call doesn't come in on a red phone saying someone's trying to listen to the podcast on Spotify or whatever, and we have to run to the mics. That's not how this works, but check out our socials. We'll have links for the Patreon and for the merch store so you can get yourselves your sweet... You can support the show. We've been running at a negative. I've lost my home. I've lost my wife and kid.
I haven't eaten in weeks.
We haven't eaten. We're living in trash. Squalor is my new title at work, which I don't have anymore.
Old Squalor Darce.
And that's all you need to know. All right.
That's all you need to know.
Actually, that's not all you need to know. One more thing you need to know.
Oh shit!
Is Scones is bringing you that spooky story.
That spooky entree.
If you haven't listened to the show, one of us brings a spooky story. I should really figure out this format. It's very avant-garde.
It's okay. Just
we're just
go with
jazzing it up.
It's jamming.
Scones is going to be bringing you the story today. I will be hearing it for the first time, reacting, and then you're going to listen to it. So, Scones, what's the spooky entree today?
Today... The spooky entree is brought to us by a listener.
Listener spooky.
Ryan Benson, longtime friend of the program.
Longtime friend of the pod. Short-time lover. I have news for you, Scones.
Ryan, also shout out, he is a up-and-coming horror and sci-fi author.
He
has a story that will be... coming out on a podcast soon.
Ooh.
Don't have the details yet.
What is a podcast?
Keep
exactly?
A podcast. It's like
oh my god,
on-demand radio.
And yes, hey, if you guys want to shout out and stuff, send us some.
Yeah, if you got anything going on, if you are a writer, visual artist, have an Etsy store, have a podcast.
Those are the 3 requirements.
Yeah, anything creative that you're going. And you're like, hey, I like doing this, and you want us to give you a free shout out, we'll do it. Just let us know. It's free. Why not? Just fucking do it.
Scones, what are we talking about today?
Today we're talking about the mystery of Charles Morgan.
Charles Morgan.
Charles Morgan.
Musical band of instrument wielding men. Play us in. Chucky Morgs.
Old Chucky Morgs. Charles Morgan.
What's his deal?
This
He
article,
sucks.
I'm bringing you this article. It's from medium.com. It was written by Cat Lee, so shout out.
Catley.
I believe he's also, there's an episode of Unsolved Mysteries dedicated to him. Charles Chuck Morgan was a 39-year-old businessman residing in Tucson, Arizona.
Oh, nice. I like the sound of that place.
It's wicked sick. He was married to his wife Ruth, had 2 daughters, and owned his own escrow agency.
Ooh.
Dude got down with the escrow.
You got that escrowing.
In the 1970s, Arizona became known as a haven for crime and money laundering, apparently.
That's dope. You said the 70s?
Yeah. Reminds me
Sick.
kind of a Breaking Bad.
I was going to say, that's the New Mexico, but
yeah.
it definitely, that was
similar landscape.
It was the first thing I thought of.
Yeah.
Yeah. You think succulents are just like a bougie way to say cactus? It's like succulent, sit down, you a bougie cactus. That's what I always say.
It is weird how you're always saying that, like when we're just when we're at Dunkin' Donuts,
Yeah,
or
they're like, hey, can you give me your social security number? And I'm like,
or when we were at that funeral and you said that.
first of all, I got a standing ovation, so fuck you. From the deceased.
That's on brand.
Anyway, sorry, you said landscape and I thought a cactus, and then that's where we went.
Thanks to the law allowing anyone to buy land through blind trusts in Arizona, the mafia could launder large amounts of money without leaving any trace. So they could just buy land and be like, here
Buy
you go.
land.
In no time, over 500 racketeers were conducting business in Arizona. As a result, the state experienced an increase in gang-style murders.
That's cool.
Nothing's cooler than an increase in gang-style murders.
Nothing better. That's my political platform I'm running on. November, go out and vote for me.
We need more gang-style murders.
Gang-style murders.
Morgan had mentioned to his wife that money laundering had been going on around, their community. However, he claimed that he was not part of it. Weird thing to claim.
Yeah.
Hey, excuse me.
By the way,
honey,
I'm not part of this.
there's a ton of crime going on around. Don't know if you heard. I'm not part of it.
I'm not part of it. Just in case anyone wonders or asks.
I'm not a murderer. I don't have a gun. I'm not. Furthermore, he said the least Ruth and their daughters knew, the better.
Oh, that's not suspicious. Dude, this dude is acing the not suspicious test.
Yeah, his wife's probably like, whew.
Thank God I married such an upstanding citizen.
On March 22nd, 1977, Morgan left his home with his 2 daughters and drove them to school. Pretty normal day. Later that night, after he had failed to show up at work and had not come home, his wife reported him missing.
Uh-oh.
As one does. 3 days later, Ruth was awoken by a thump on the back door at 2 a.m.
Uh-oh.
It was Walter White. No, when she opened the door, she was shocked to see her missing husband. Chuck's like at the door. He's like, hey,
so
I went on this.
By the way,
rip.
I'm not involved in any kind of suspicious activity.
Morgan's hands were tied with a plastic zip tie,
Ooh.
and he had a plastic handcuff around his ankle. He couldn't speak, so Ruth grabbed a notepad and a pen. It doesn't say why he couldn't speak.
It does. Okay, can he not
Don't speak.
I know just what
You're saying.
This is the new podcast. No doubt, the podcast. Okay, so he can't speak. I assume his mouth is tied.
No, it doesn't say that. It says it's just his hands.
Why
are tied
would
with
she
a zip
not
tie.
cut him free first and let him talk? Or is he just like in like full shutdown mode? I'm confused.
So Morgan wrote that he had been abducted and tortured. Moreover, he had a hallucinogenic drug painted on his throat, which prevented him from speaking.
That's so cool.
If the paint was ingested, his nervous system would stop working, and ultimately cause his death.
Wait, that's an insane... That's like some
That
supervillain shit.
Yeah.
That's nuts.
That sounds like something they make up on like an NCIS show.
Right,
or
yeah.
like
That's, or like a Saw like kill.
Yeah.
Like, what's this guy's name in Saw?
Jigsaw?
I'm so dumb. Hey, what's Pennywise? What's Jigsaw doing in Arizona in the 70s? That's where he started, apparently.
He then asked his wife to move his car and didn't want them to know he was back.
Yikes.
When Ruth was like, hey, we should call the police or at least a doctor, Chuck was like, no, stating that they would put a hit out on the whole family. But he never really said who they or them is.
So, was she mad that he lied about being
That's really
on
what
the
she
up and
was
up?
mad
Yeah,
about.
she was pissed. She's like, I'll move your car, but we're having a talk later.
Ruth nursed her husband back to health during the next week, feeding him with an eyedropper. So
Jesus.
how is that drug still...
This sounds like he's lying. and
He just doesn't want to talk.
yeah.
During this time, Morgan adverted to having a secret identity. Apparently, for the last 2 or 3 years, he had been a secret agent for the federal government and fought against organized crime.
That's so cool.
He claimed that they
They.
had taken his treasury identification.
Oh.
So is the government turning on him? Are they burning him?
Oh, no. Burn notice
Like
style?
all those movies from the 90s? Once recovered, Morgan was naturally a paranoid person.
Yeah.
Probably, especially if you're not even like moving.
If someone painted my throat with poison, I'd be a little suspicious of people.
Or if you like don't move or do anything about it, you're just
Yeah.
like, oh, all right, I'll drive the girls to school again today. He wore a bulletproof vest at all times, and no one was allowed to drive his daughters to and from school except for him.
You think that includes pooping?
It definitely includes pooping.
He's definitely like,
I gotta poop with my bulletproof vest on.
yeah.
Probably the safest he's ever felt pooping.
True. I should start doing that, dude. You want to
Yeah.
get some vests? Call each other up?
Hey, let's cut this podcast short. Let's go get some fucking bulletproof vests.
We'll be right back.
He even spoke to school officials stating that the girls were not allowed to leave with anyone else but their father. Oddly, Morgan also told his father that he had written...
Morgan told his father?
Yeah, so
Okay,
Chuck
so
told
grandfather.
Grandpa Chuck. He told Grandpa Chuck that he had written and hidden a letter which stated who would be responsible if something had happened to him.
Jesus.
So he's like, hey, if I die, here's who did it. Don't open it. And the whole family's probably like, fuck, Chuck. Like,
yeah, hashtag
what's
fuck
going
Chuck.
on? Is this the inspiration to the show Chuck, you think?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it. I hope you understand the reference. Goodbye.
2 months after Morgan's first disappearance, he went missing again. Classic Chuck.
Dude, Chuck is wheeling and dealing out there.
He's gone again. 9 days later, and no signs of her husband, Ruth received an odd call from a woman who did not identify herself. The mysterious woman simply said, Chuck is all right. Ecclesiastics 12, 1-8.
Whoa, that's cool.
That's a Bible.
I was going to say, it's a Bible verse, so they must have some kind of message in there.
It's a Bible verse. Part of this message reads, men who are afraid of a high place and of terrors on the road, remember him before the silver cord is broken and the golden bowl is crushed. Then the dust will return to earth as it was, and the spirit will return to God who gave it.
Okay, sure.
So if you're reading that, that doesn't really mean anything to me.
So, I have his latitude and longitude. What's next?
2 days after the call, Morgan was found dead. He was found dead in the desert. The crime scene had various noteworthy characteristics. So let's get into these characteristics of this crime scene. So you get to the crime scene, right, Darce?
Yeah. I'm Detective Darce. I take my sunglasses. I go, looks like this is a desert. Shit. Hold on. Wee woo.
Back that one up.
Clunk. Step. How did he die? I need that for my pun.
Single bullet to the back of the head.
Okay. Looks like he's feeling holy because of the Bible verse. That's the best I could do.
That's it.
Write it up.
Print. Stop recording. Print that.
Boy.
So, weird things about the crime scene, as our Detective Darce would notice. Shit. Morgan was still wearing his bulletproof vest.
Oh.
But That doesn't really help when you get shot in the back of the head.
Okay, that's weird.
The shot was fired at close range. Morgan's own
Execution
357.
style?
Yeah, they used Morgan's own 357 Magnum. And it was found lying beside his body.
They did him dirty, dude.
They did him dirty with his own dang
diddler.
Yep. In his car were various...
For all the Midwestern listeners.
In his car were various weapons and supplies of ammunition.
Okay.
Oddly, his car had been altered to unlock from the fender.
That's wild.
That is weird. There were no fingerprints at the crime scene, including none on the gun. None on the gun.
I am the one.
I am the nun, the gun. Gun with a Nun has to be a bad action movie, right?
I mean, you got Hobo with a Shotgun.
Right.
Sequel, Gun with a Nun. Sequel, If You Give a Mouse a Cookie. Sequel, If You Give a Moose a mustache. If You Give a Moose a pancake.
If you give a moose a muffin.
Muffin, yeah. Why would the
I like the mustache,
stop?
though.
If you give a moose a mustache, he'll buy you beer.
He'll yell, hey, skip it babadoo. He'll buy a beer. Morgan's hand had gunpowder. Interestingly, Morgan was right-handed, and the powder was in...
his left hand.
The left hand.
I'm a detective.
His belt buckle concealed the knife.
Okay.
This dude was, like, armed to the teeth.
He's strapped. This guy's, like, ready to go.
In the rear seat of the car, one of Morgan's teeth was wrapped in a white handkerchief.
Eee.
Hey. Oh, wait.
Oh, whoa.
A piece of paper with the directions to the spot where he died was found in his own handwriting.
A piece of paper?
Yeah, that was like, hey, here's where I died.
Yikes.
But when would he have time to write that? Yeah.
So they were like, hey, gun to your head.
We're going to kill you here. And he's like, okay, I'll write it out. And then he's like, wait, how can I give it to someone? And then bam, right in the back of the head.
Jesus Christ.
Near him were a pair of sunglasses. Those did not belong to Morgan. And a $2 bill was clipped inside of his underwear.
What the fuck?
On it was written various words and some drawings referencing the Freemasons.
How much of this... Okay. How much of the random evidence here is distraction and, like... I feel like some of this has to just be, like, the killer's way of leading him off the trail.
It could be, but if he was a federal agent, a lot of this could be, like...
some kind
messages
of,
or like stuff he has to go somewhere and pick it up and like know what his mission is.
Jesus, that's so cool, but also so scary.
7 Spanish names beginning with the letters A to G were written on the same $2 bill. Acevedo, I'm going to butcher these, Bejarano, Cairo, Duarte, Encinas, Fuente, and Gradias.
Okay.
Above the names was Ecclesiastes 12, and arrows pointing to the numbers 1 and 8 on the bill's serial number.
Oh, little connection to Mrs. Chuck.
On the back, the signers of the Declaration of Independence were each numbered 1 through 7, and there was a roughly drawn map. Dude, they fit so much onto this fucking $2 bill.
Sounds like a middle school like crush list.
Tommy J is the fucking
Thomas
cutest.
Jefferson's number 1. He's got the cutest wig.
This map represented the towns of Robles Junction and Salacity, an area between Tucson and Mexico known for drug smuggling.
It's really, I mean, I'm very intrigued by the cryptography aspect of it.
Yeah, and
I'm very sad for Chuck and family.
Pictures.
Ooh, I can see it. You can't, listener.
Haha, stupid listener. Just kidding. We love you. Now, cool. As you can imagine, the cops handled this in a great way. They were convinced that he had committed suicide.
Oh my God.
Nothing says commit suicide like giving yourself a contorting execution style bullet to the back of the head.
Yeah, nothing screams suicide like telling people prior to you dying that if you die, it was not suicide and that somebody did you in.
Dude, they just like... Also, who knows in this part of the country at this time if the cops are probably just bought off.
That's a good point. Yeah, they could. Yeah, that's actually, that makes so much more sense.
Like, he killed himself.
Like, what? Yeah, as you can see, this man took his own life.
He drove out, drew to where he would die, but not send the letter and then shoot himself in the back of the head. They're like, I
remember learning about this in academy. It's the crushless suicide.
We see this all the time. Always cryptic messages.
Yes, classic.
However, many people, obviously his wife and investigative journalist Dawn DeVreaux, are certain
It was not suicide. Yeah.
it was not suicide. Me too.
Me 3.
Dawn and Ruth.
Ruth Bader Ginsburg.
What if she was on the case? Things solved like that. Notorious RBG just coming in.
RBG rolls in. She's like, ooh, that ain't suicide.
Oh, there it is.
Oh, it says Fuente?
Fuente! He's like, yeah. She's like, you do this?
Fuente, avocado. Or whatever it was.
Ecclesiastes 12.
Get over here. Anyway.
2 days after Morgan's body was found, a woman going by the name of Green Eyes called the police department.
It's such a cool fucking nickname.
The story is just straight out of a movie. So basically the police are like, and clearly it was murder. So the woman calls the cop. She's like, hey, it's me.
Green Eyes.
Green Eyes.
Old Green Eyes.
She provided some interesting information on the recently deceased man. She claimed to have met with Morgan in a motel. Classic
spy spot.
Shortly before his death, and that he showed her a briefcase containing thousands of dollars in cash.
Ooh, somebody got that money.
Morgan told her the money was to buy himself
more bulletproof vests.
Buy himself out of a contract the mob had put on his life.
Ooh.
Green eyes. I'd run away with you.
She then sang that into the answering
That's
machine.
an old song. The anonymous woman also claimed to be the one who called Ruth and gave her the Bible reference.
Well, why didn't she help her more if she's here to assist, apparently?
Dude, it sounds like she did everything she could. She called the wife, was like, hey, last time I saw your husband, he was fine. Bible verse, smell you later.
Later, bro.
Authorities were able to confirm that Morgan had in fact stayed at the Westside Motel for over a week before his death. So that fills in those 9 days.
Yeah, there's those. Okay, so that's the time. He didn't tell anybody about this.
He did the time.
He didn't do the crime, unlike the
No, he didn't do the crime. He was murdered. To add to the mystery of her husband's death, Ruth was visited by 2 quote-unquote FBI agents 3 weeks after Morgan's death. The agents, who hardly showed their badges, were just like, hey, what's up? Here's badge. Here's
FBI, by the way.
Stormed into Ruth's home and ransacked everything while searching for something.
That sounds like FBI.
Yeah, that's what they do. They did not say what they wanted and appear to have not found it. The men eventually left, and Ruth, naturally shaken and alarmed by the incident, obviously, still does not know if the men actually belong to the FBI. I don't think so, Ruth.
Doesn't sound like it, Ruthie.
Ruth.
RBG.
Baby.
Ruth, baby Ruth.
So Dawn DeVreaux, that investigative journalist we mentioned earlier, contacted the FBI and requested that they release information in the Morgan case under that good old Freedom of Information Act.
Freedom of Information Act.
Freedom of Information Act.
How free is your information? You wouldn't download a car.
He was denied.
Oh, rip.
The FBI claimed to have no idea who Charles Morgan was.
What?
So those guys aren't FBI agents.
So they're not FBI agents, but at the same time, it could be the FBI covering up the fact that he was an undercover agent.
I feel like the FBI knows who everybody is.
We also don't even know if Charles Morgan is his real name, do we?
Charles Bruce Anderson. No, I have no idea.
Charles Bruce Morgan. The connections. The connections. What if this was a fiction podcast this whole time?
That would be amazing.
This is like a novel.
We would be so cool.
We would be so smart.
So
hey, write in if you think we're so smart.
If you think we're like a bunch of smart cuties, just write in.
Email mondaymorningmacabre@cuties.org.
If Charles Morgan did in fact...
Oh, boy. Oh, we had a weird pizza earlier.
I feel weird after that.
It's a wonky pizza day.
If Charles Morgan did in fact work for the government and had been closely watching organized crime families, it is speculated that the odd $2 bill was actually a bunch of coded messages for the FBI.
You don't say.
Dawn ended up finding out that Morgan had been heavily involved in money laundering in the early 1970s. By 73, Morgan was using his escrow business to launder large sales of gold and platinum, over $1 billion.
Jesus.
Mostly from Southeast Asia. Interestingly, Morgan kept duplicate records of these illegal transactions, hoping that they would help him in the future. Well, you're wrong, Charles.
Hey, Chuck, I got
Doesn't seem to help you at all.
Rip.
According to rumor, undercover CIA CIA agents, people from the Department of Defense, and exiled Vietnamese government officials were also involved.
Huh.
It is speculated that Morgan was killed because he kept these records.
Damn.
So they think the government killed him.
They think the government did him.
Yeah,
Dude,
honestly,
honestly,
like, hey, stop.
All you're downloading.
Stop downloading.
Stop holding on to records that negatively affect us.
And he was like, no.
And they were like, well, suicide time.
He's going to suicide himself.
Dude, he had an oopsie whoopsie in the desert.
Yep.
Those succulents were looking too succulent.
The cops were like, yep, that's what it is. Close it. Close the case. There's an oopsie whoopsie.
So they believe it's the government.
That's what Don DeVreau, the investigative. Yeah, that's what Tom Morello thinks.
Oh, okay. And he's got a PhD.
Moreover, Morgan worked with at least one organized crime family who may have killed him if he found out too much. So I guess
this guy was, okay, he had his fingers in some
pots.
Some dangerous pots.
It sounds like he was like, yeah, I'll help the government, and that never seems to work out, where you help the government spy on the mob. Seems like they both end up just trying to kill you.
Pretty much.
So people believe the mob put a hit on Morgan. Somehow word got out and the hitman informed Morgan that he was going to be killed. Morgan then decided he would buy himself out of the hit by giving the assassin the money in the briefcase he had at the motel.
That doesn't sound like a good idea at all.
Doesn't sound like it would ever work.
No, it sounds like the guy would just shoot you anyway, keep more money.
Right, yeah. Right? Unless he's some weird, like, honor-bound assassin.
Yeah, it's just like the Mandalorian or something. I don't...
And then it says, but when he met with the hitman in the desert, the guy took the money and fucking killed Morgan anyway.
Yeah, I don't think you should be making deals with hitmen.
Or it sounds like the government or the mob.
The government or the mob. Those are my top three. No, if you guys have been tuning in for this long, 5 episodes in at this point?
Ooh.
Then you should know we are anti-hitman.
We're 5 away from the big 5-0.
Yeah, we're going to be turning 50 pretty soon. In dog years, that's like
1,000.
Yeah, like maybe 1 million. I don't know. I can't read or do math. All I know is how to turn on a mic and spit truth.
Turn on the microwave and forget who I am for a half an hour.
Hey, brother. That's good Monday vibe.
At the time of his death, Morgan was an involuntary witness for the Arizona General Attorney's Office inquest involving a bank. Dude, this guy just... His hobby was getting involved with the worst people in the most serious ways.
Yeah, he's like, what's the most dangerous place I can put myself?
Also, he was a key witness in a secret state investigation on illegal activity on the Arizona and Mexico border. There's no fucking way the FBI doesn't know who this guy is. Right? He just volunteers
in everything
to be in every dangerous position he could possibly be in.
It's actually nuts.
Furthermore, one of Morgan's daughters, Megan Heidi, I think that's how you say Heidi, claims her father knew a lot of secrets about important Tucson politicians.
Ooh. So this guy was just literally...
People love to tell this guy secrets.
Yeah, well, he's a trustworthy guy, apparently.
So, jump forward to May 14th, 1990. 35-year-old Doug Johnston is fatally shot in his car in the parking lot outside of a computer graphics company where he was supposed to work the night shift in Phoenix, Arizona.
Okay. Tie him in, brother.
Guess what authorities thought about it?
Authorities said it was a suicide.
Yep. However, his family and DeVreau disagree. Not only did Johnston have no gunpowder on either of his hands, but there was no gun at the scene.
Jesus Christ.
So he shot himself and then
threw he threw the gun. Jesus.
DeVreau is certain he was killed by a hitman.
How is no one else questioning these besides his immediate family?
There must be people seriously greasing the police in Arizona.
You'd think.
DeVreau is certain he was killed by a hitman who had been hired to kill DeVreau, not Johnston. So DeVreau thinks he was like, it should have been me. DeVreau had recently worked on the episode of Unsolved Mysteries that featured Charles Morgan's death, which aired in February of that year.
What year was it?
1990.
Oh.
He also drove a similar car to Johnston and lived across the street from the parking lot where Johnston had been shot. Poor fucking Doug Johnston.
Damn.
Wrong place, wrong time, wrong guy.
That sucks.
He was 35. And the cops are just like, yeah, he killed himself with a...
With what? That's a great question. That's insane.
A year later. a fellow investigative reporter, Danny Casolaro.
Casolaro?
DeVito. Casolaro.
It's a hyphenated name.
Danny Casolaro contacted Don Devereaux. He wanted to share the information he had recently discovered about the Morgan case.
Oh.
So he definitely, like in the movie, he would have called him.
Yeah.
And Danny Devereaux would have been like, I don't have time for this. And then the person with the phone would be like, it's about the Morgan case.
Yeah. He goes, meet me
I'll take it to my office. Yeah. And then there's like an Aaron Sorkin style, like walking down the hallway. Devereaux naturally asked Casolaro to send him the material. However, before Casolaro was able to do so, oopsie whoopsie.
Oh no, he committed suicide?
Yeah, the information was apparently had to do concerning the transactions that Morgan had made. Guessing that has to do with the cleaning of the money.
There's some connections going on with these deaths, I would happen to say.
A cleaning lady had found Casolaro's body in the bathtub of a motel in Martinsburg, West Virginia.
Yikes.
His wrists had been slashed 12 times with a razor blade.
Jesus.
A suicide note was found at the scene. To my loved ones, please forgive me, most especially my son, and be understanding. God will let me in. Very vague and not personal.
Yeah.
Other than the son part.
Right.
Casolaro's family refused to accept that he would commit suicide, especially with a razor, as he was deathly afraid of needles and blood.
It's like they pulled up his Facebook profile and they're like, okay, he's got a son. Write that down. Like that's their...
Yeah. Also 12 times.
True. Excessive.
To this day, Charles Morgan's death still remains a mystery, and there has been no follow-up. Sadly, his wife Ruth passed away in 2006, not knowing the cause of her husband's bizarre death and possibly the secret life that he led.
That's crazy.
The letter that supposedly contained who was responsible for his death was never found.
Wow. That's wild. That was an intriguing story.
And it's a mystery where you don't feel better at the end of it.
Live, laugh, love.
I don't owe you closure, listeners.
I'm going to take the entire transcript of this episode, put it over a sunset picture, and then you'll feel good at the end.
Oh, yeah, like this. That's what the author did. She put a sunset picture.
She put a sunset picture. That's crazy.
Desert's a wild place, man.
Yeah, apparently. That it does seem mobby, but the government's also like a big mob.
And it's like in the 70s, like that line between the mob and the government was blurry.
Yeah, for sure. Yes, but yeah, the time period really also adds credence to like...
This is like right around the time, about just the start of like Armenia, Arkansas story where the CIA and everyone's like running drugs from South America to the southern United States. It's ooh, 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 hey, hey, what you yeah.
Fade to the end of the episode.
Fade to black.
So that's
Soprano style ending.
That is that's good stuff.
Thanks, dude. I found
like
it. Again, Kat Lee at medium.com.
I've never heard of this case, and that's wild.
Big shout out to, again, listener and author Ryan Benson for the point me in the direction of this one.
Thank you. Follow our socials.
Do it. The socials.
You got MondayMorningMacabre.com. You got MMMacabre on Twitter. Monday Morning Macabre on Instagram. You gotta check out the merch store that should be up and the Patreon.
Is the Patreon just gonna be Patreon? Just search Monday Morning Macabre.
Check our socials to be extra sure, but I think it should be. I'm assuming Monday Morning Macabre isn't an issue. I'm pretty sure it is.
There'll probably be a link from the website. Yeah,
there'll be a link on the website. There will be a link in our socials. Patreon.com/Monday Morning Macabre will most likely work for you.
And again, if you subscribe to Patreon, you'll get some extra little bonus tent.
Some bonus tent. We do some movie review. We do a little like creepy pasta talk.
Creepy, nasty.
Some horror adjacent stuff. We'll do a normal Monday Morning Macabre episode here and there. We're throwing it all in. And
pot.
all in the pot. some video content might be coming down the pipeline.
Ooh, visuals.
Ooh, you can see what Scones and Darcy look like.
Sorry.
Like, you know when you really like a band and then you see a music video and you're like, I don't like this band as much.
That's what it's going to be
It's
like.
going to be like. The image in your head is like, when I saw Smash Mouth's lead singer, I threw up in my mouth. That's what I'm trying to say.
That's what we're trying to bring you.
So keep an eye out for that. And if nothing else, have a good Monday.
Have a great Monday.
Bye. Bye.